Does your license need saving? Do the wise thing. Call Wise Man Lawyers. Does your license need saving? Do the wise thing. Call Wise Man Lawyers. Don't face that court alone. Let the Wise Man team get you back on the road. Does your license need saving? Do the wise thing. Call the Wise Man team at Wise Man Lawyers.
Alright, today I was at Brisbane Magistrates Court. Client was charged with high range drink driving, .225. To put that in perspective, high range starts at .150, so he's well and truly into the high range bracket. Compounding this was the fact that he had a single vehicle accident, so he's left the road, hit a tree, written his vehicle off. He wasn't injured as such, but he was still hospitalised, and the police were unable to get a breath sample from him, so the hospital had to draw blood to work out what his reading was. But as I said, a reading of .225 with a collision. There was no history and there was no other vehicles involved, so that was fortunate, I guess. As far as preparing went, I got him to do a reformatory course which is held over 3 nights, exposes people to the very real consequences of making these type of errors on the road. So, you know, persons who have been injured on the road come and speak, or persons who have lost loved ones. There's graphic footage played at these seminars, and I often get clients telling me that they or the persons around them were brought to tears as they listen to the stories of these unfortunate people. I drafted an affidavit for him to sign talking about what he said he'd learned. I prepared verbal submissions as to why my client's licence shouldn't be disqualified for an excessive period. But this particular person, he was studying, I won't go into too much detail, but he was studying a particular field at university that requires admission to a professional body. I'll let you join the dots on that. And for that reason, he held grave concerns with regard to the recording of a conviction, because once he'd finished his studies, he needed to make an application to this particular professional body. As a part of that, he's got to convince them that he's a fit and proper person to be given entry into that professional body, and therefore able to work in the field that he's studied in. And this offence obviously was going to cause difficulties, particularly if there was a conviction recorded. Whereas if those magic words, "no conviction recorded," were to appear on his traffic history next to this entry, I mean, it's not to say that he'd withhold the information from this professional body, but when they're assessing him as to whether he's a fit and proper person to be welcomed into that field, the words "no conviction recorded" would at the very least take the sting out of it and hopefully leave a slightly less pungent taste in their mouths when assessing his application. So, and I suppose, given that he's a full-time student and working part-time, it was less about his licence and more about securing no conviction recorded. So I drafted written submissions based on case law that gives the magistrate the power to not record a conviction in certain circumstances. I might as well discuss the law on that, and this might sound funny or humorous or whatever, but the key case on whether or not a conviction should be recorded in Queensland is the matter of Grohl. And the Grohl you're thinking of, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. He, when he was here for the big day out about, 10 or 12 years ago, he was caught riding a moped around the Gold Coast over the influence, under the influence. He was charged with low range drink driving. From memory, it was a reading of around .08. Went to Southport Magistrates Court. He was disqualified and the conviction was recorded. His lawyer, for whatever reason, didn't see fit to push for no conviction recorded, and as an afterthought, obviously Mr. Grohl's become agitated at the recording the conviction and has appealed. That appeal was, I suppose, based on the fact that he had to travel the world with the Foo Fighters, and particularly there was some kind of charity concert in the Middle East coming up, and he had concerns about whether or not he'd be given entry to those Middle Eastern countries. Anyway, the short version is the appellate court that heard the appeal didn't particularly care much for his argument, and they held that the recorded conviction would stay. So the magistrates recorded a conviction, he's appealed it, and then the next court up said, well, too bad, you haven't convinced us that a conviction should not be recorded. and the recorded conviction stood. So what I'm getting at is the matter of Grohl is the key case that magistrates throughout Queensland refer to when deciding whether or not a recorded conviction. And basically what that case says is, unless you can hand documentary evidence, so not verbal evidence, actual documents showing that you're going to basically have your career derailed, convictions must be recorded. So I guess you've got all these, and no disrespect to the magistracy, but you've got magistrates of various ages and backgrounds and musical tastes referring to the matter of Grohl, a lot of the time oblivious to who he actually is. But in any event, what I'm getting at is today, that was a hurdle I had to get over. I had to convince the magistrate that, notwithstanding the fact that Dave Grohl had a conviction recorded, my client deserved to have an exercise of the discretion made in his favour, meaning notwithstanding the fact that Dave Grohl got a conviction recorded on a low range drink driving offence, my client with a high range of .225 with collision did deserve to have no conviction recorded. Understandably, the prosecutor fought very hard on that point, and in fact the matter was stood down because I referred to case law, but the magistrate wanted to take the time to read the case law that I was referring to during the break. So the matter was stood down only for about 40 minutes. The magistrate took a break, read the case law that I referred to in my submissions, came back, and then we continued on. So again, without prattling on, I made forceful submissions about why a recorded conviction would cause my client difficulties in seeking admission to that professional body. I also spoke about the impact that a lengthy disqualification would have upon him, notwithstanding the fact that, at the end of the day, he's a student, and while he does work, it's not like a full-time role, and I guess his greatest concern was the recording of conviction as opposed to the length of the disqualification. But look, I'm starting to prattle on now. The short version is I was successful in both fronts. I was able to convince the magistrate to give a modest disqualification of 12 months. The worst case is a lifetime loss of licence. So in my mind, 12 months for .225 with a collision, and particularly where the person isn't going to suffer a great deal of hardship. They work in a retail role in the Brisbane CBD of Brisbane, so they don't have a driver's license dependent role. They can get public transport to and from work, so they're really not going to suffer any difficulties while they're off the road. But notwithstanding, again, 12 months, which for anyone, even driver's license dependent role or not, is a good outcome for .225 with a collision. But more importantly for my client, I was successful despite having to basically kick and scream and have the matter stood down and pull out every trick of the hat, for want of a better analogy. I was able to persuade the magistrate to exercise their discretion and not record a conviction. So I'm going to hold off on publishing this video for 28 days, which is the appeal period. I don't want to publish this video and have the powers that be at Queensland Police file an appeal because I've published this video and let the world know of this good outcome. So again, I'm going to wait a month, let the dust settle, and then once the appeal period's over, I'll publish this video. So as you're watching it, you're going to see that it was a month old, and that's why. But anyway, short version, 12-month disqualification, no conviction recorded, client's very happy. I'm Andrew Wiseman, thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Andrew Wiseman from Wiseman Lawyers, Queensland's only truly dedicated drug, alcohol and traffic offence law firm. If you face loss of licence, loss of vehicle imprisonment or anything in between at any court in Queensland, we can and will help you today. This is our specialty. This is all we do. Give us a call, 1300 947 352. I look forward to helping you resolve your issue today.
Don't face that court alone. Let the wise man team get you back on the road. Does your license need saving?